You're watching a clip from the Club podcast.
Make sure you follow it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and give it a 5-star review.
What's happening, everyone, and welcome to the Club. Before we get into this clip, I need to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by the one and only NordVPN. They have been kind enough to partner with us on the Club. We are over the moon with the partnership. Thank you so much to Nord. It is a truly wonderful VPN. You must go to NordVPN for all of your VPN needs. It is one of the Times 2022 best inventions. It's so affordable. It really is such good value for money. It's comparable to the price of a cup of coffee per month. One account allows you to connect 6 devices. So it really is excellent value for money. And guess what? There is absolutely no jeopardy in it for you. If you try it out and you don't like it, you will get a 30-day money-back guarantee. So make sure that you check out NordVPN. It's the fastest VPN in the world. There is no buffering. There is no lag. It is a truly wonderful service. Thank you so much to NordVPN for partnering with us on this video. That's NordVPN/the Club. The link is in the description below. Enjoy the video.
Let's talk about who is going to get the sack. The old
Sack race.
thin sack, as Rory calls it. Who's going to get sacked up? Is it going to be your boy Graham Potter, who got a big win for himself this weekend? Although you still hear a few murmurs of complaints despite the victory.
It was a terrible victory. I mean, I think it's fair to say it was a really uninspiring victory, but I don't think it will be him. I mean, to focus on this topic and not make it all about Chelsea, it was very difficult for me to do as the narcissist that Buvey just called me. But I'm not going to make it all about me. I don't think Potter will be sacked. I think that there was a chance he would have been sacked if we'd lost to Leeds and then been dumped out of Europe. Because that would have gone Tottenham and Leeds in consecutive weeks, which are Chelsea's 2 biggest rivals. That is just unacceptable. But because we got the win against Leeds, I think it's probably given him a little bit of time. The league is now a write-off. We're now not going to be relegated. I think it's fair to say that that's... No, but I truly believe, Buvey, if you looked at Chelsea's form over 15 games, we're in the relegation zone. 15 is a serious percentage.
Yeah.
So look, I think overall it won't be Potter. Whether it should be Potter is a different question. Who should be the next manager sacked? Graham Potter.
Why, is there a sense within the club that they want to give him time?
Yeah, desperate.
Or is it just a case of, we'll give you to the end of the season, then you're gone?
No. The former of what you said. I think the club are desperate to give him time. I think the club are desperate for it to work. And there are many reasons here. I think the club, on some sort of admirable, noble sense, they want it to work because they like a more holistic approach. They like the way that he managed. I don't agree with any of this. But another reason that they want it to work so badly is because they are American venture capitalists who are billionaires. I don't know many American venture capitalist billionaires, but the stereotype would suggest that acknowledging your own error isn't necessarily the way that they naturally operate.
Yeah.
So for them to sack Graham Potter, effectively what it means is employing him in the first place was a mistake. And I think the ego of the billionaire could keep him in his job. So I don't think it will be Potter.
Rory don't think it will be Potter. Do you think it could be Potter?
No, I think what Rory said, I think they're almost too invested as a kind of cost. They've already put too much money into the project for me. I think he sees at the end of the season there'll be 5 or 6. There'll probably be £1 billion quid spent, and they'll start the season fresh next season, hopefully with an understanding of who's in this 50-man squad. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely crazy.
So if Potter isn't going to be the guy, could it be Antonio Conte? He's leaving at the end of the season anyway.
No, they don't sack Conte.
Things are going bad to worse.
They don't sack him because he's not even... I just don't think they're in a situation where they can sack him. I think he will definitely leave at the end of the season. I think any kind of doubt that there may have been is now over. The fact that his gallbladder and personal issues are keeping him away from the stadium just means that sacking him is almost pointless, because he will be moving on, and bringing somebody in for the short term doesn't really suit Tottenham. So I think that Conte will remain. Also, let's face it, regardless of how it's going for Tottenham, regardless of how it's going for Conte, their best bet of getting in the European Cup next season is still Conte. Yeah. So even if it's not going well from Conte's high standards, it's still going fairly well for Tottenham. Yeah. I know they were dumped out of the FA Cup, but they're still in Europe. I think they can still go through in Europe. They could be in the last 8.
They can't sack him for kind of even the PR of it. He's ill at the moment. He's not going to leave. He's going to sit there on the contract.
The thing is as well, Buvey, right? We're saying how badly it's gone for Tottenham, and on some level, I think it has gone badly. But I think that we're also overstating who Tottenham are and how good Tottenham are. Tottenham are currently potentially going to make it into the European Cup next year, and probably, in my opinion at least, I think they'll overturn the deficit to Milan and they'll go into the last 8 of the European Cup.
Yeah.
Tottenham would get into the last 8 of the European Cup. It's a good season.
Yeah,
Sorry, mate, that's a good
I don't
season.
think Conte's ever made it last 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So no, I don't think it will be Conte. I don't think it should be Conte either. And I think that there are far more worthy contenders.
I think it's obvious, lads, at this point, and it's because Leeds have already moved to make a change. Wolves have already moved.
Everton.
Villa have already moved. Everton. Bournemouth on some
Moyes
level
then?
with Scott Parker.
What are you going to say?
I back Moyes. I back his legacy in the Premier League.
Legacy.
Well, there is a legacy.
Legacy.
He's at least in the top 10 most managerial games in the Premier League. I think he's top 5. But you don't manage that amount of games in the Premier League.
It's like Gareth Barry having loads of
it
games.
matters.
Though,
it does matter to me because I think that's a consistent level. Now, I'm not saying it's a good level, but it's a good Premier League level. He's a good Premier League level manager. I'm sorry, he is. But he's been dealt with some weird cards at West Ham. That I think they're a club that are out of their depth. The stadium for me never made sense for me, and they haven't sacked him yet. And it means they're lingering
They've got
right
a very
around.
good team, though, man.
They've just got smashed by Brighton in a performance where they were absolutely dismal. And players have given away sort of penalties and stuff like that where they're chasing games, they're making amateur mistakes. You can't be losing to Brighton in that kind of manner. And Brighton represent everything that West Ham should be. A side that are young, hungry, playing good football, expansive.
Going to qualify for Europe potentially.
Qualify for Europe, and they've done none. You know, if Brighton got relegated next season,
board
of
don't
course it'd be a
seem
bad
to be
season, but there'd be no financial. If West Ham get relegated, it's an absolute financial catastrophe.
For everything that West Ham want to be as well, for everything that they are trying to position themselves as.
the fancy
you know that
London
like
club,
London, they call
Stratford
themselves
and all
the
that.
London. This is the London Stadium, is what they call it. You know, they're trying to really position themselves as London's representative in the Premier League.
But they'll
so
struggle.
misleading.
They'll struggle. I think they will. I think they'll sack him, unfortunately, for him.
But correct decision.
I don't think they will. That doesn't seem to be. The board seem to like him. Karen Brady and all those guys seem to like him.
They're going to be
the result
liking him a
against
lot
Brighton,
less.
the result against Brighton was so poor. I mean, it was. I watched large parts of it. It was shocking how off the pace they were. And the big thing for me is West Ham. Can you get better than Moyes? Look at Leeds.
Yeah,
Look at Leeds. They couldn't. Leeds were looking for weeks. It's the middle of the
Look
Premier
at
League
Brighton,
season.
bro. They've had 2 managers better than Moyes.
Yeah, but De Zerbi goes in there, he sees the project, he sees the kind of, even the academy and stuff like that, and the scouting network. It's a great system.
Do you know
West
what
Ham's
could,
a mess.
Do you know what could save them? I'm looking at the league table here. Do you know what could save David Moyes? Despite West Ham's ridiculously poor form, you know, they're averaging less than a point a game. They're still not in the relegation zone. And weirdly, the form of the teams below them could save him. Like, I remember when Sean Dyche took over at Everton. Everybody, right, I think I said that they could still go down, and you categorically said they will stay up. No, I mean, you're still potentially right. You're still potentially right.
Yeah.
But I think that it's been harder for Sean Dyche than maybe even you anticipated, who's a big fan.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it kind of says a lot about the mire that Lampard left Everton in.
The mire that he inherited as well. No, I mean, this is without any kind of
Rafa Benitez is an issue, and even before that, maybe with Koeman, etc., it could go as far back as that in terms of the financial aspects of it.
You've got to look
Bashiri.
above. Do you know when we were talking about Everton going down? When Dyche was, I'm sure that there'll be a clip of this, in fact, on this show. I remember sitting with you and we asked, will Dyche keep them up? And I think you two both said yes, and I said no. The jury is still out. We don't know how it's going to go. But the reason isn't anything to do with Dyche. Everton are that weird club that could go down, and it's because of mismanagement. No club is mismanaged more than Everton.
Dyche ain't getting sacked. Who's winning the sack race?
Exactly. So for me, it has to be based on the fact that Moyes is the next on that list. Southampton can't sack anyone. Do you know what I mean?
Boys, you've all skirted around one particular club.
Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan Rodgers and Leicester.
No. But they're not going to sack him, though. They've had various points this season to sack Brendan Rodgers. In fact, there was a time earlier this year. It was a game that they eventually won. I think it might have been against West Ham, actually. But their owner flew in because if it had gone wrong, they were going to sack him.
Yeah.
And it didn't go wrong.
I think it's the right decision.
I think Rodgers could have left there ages ago because I think the longer he stayed there, the more his
legacy
stock
tarnished
has decreased.
Everything I said about him
He could have been
right.
You look at him and you think, oh, you know, him at a West Ham, Brendan Rodgers, maybe he could do something good for them.
Mate, he's just not a good manager.
You wouldn't see him in the frame.
He's just not a good manager.
I disagree.
No, me and you.
He won an FA Cup for Leicester.
I know.
Yeah, he did. He did. But he's also the same guy that's taken them where they are now. He's also the same bloke that should have won Liverpool a league that didn't. He's the same bloke that should have had Leicester in the Champions League 2 years running and didn't. He is a perpetual underachiever. He can do certain things, but he's a prepared. I mean, giving me eyes. Use words.
I'm just trying to think. I don't
Use
think-
words, bro.
I don't think it's an underachievement to get Leicester punching towards fourth. They're not Arsenal. This
It's
isn't
an
Spurs.
underachievement
What
considering
Leicester
where
did-
they were,
All right,
Buvey.
the season where they came fifth the first time was gutting for them. I get that. I think your point is very valid for that. The second season, to get them back to that point where the adrenaline, they were shot, they were so flat after not qualifying for the Champions League. Then they had Europa League football. Then they get fifth again, and that season they beat you in an FA Cup. I think that's incredible for them.
They should have got Champions League football that year as well. And imagine the difference that the Champions League money would have made to them today. They were
of course.
third.
Yeah.
You know that whole joke about Arsenal finishing third in a 2-horse race? Leicester did that. Leicester dropped out of the Champions League spots when everyone had gone.
Yeah.
Well, Leicester are third or fourth at least.
Yeah.
We're all
But
competing.
I take into the narrative of the football club trying to compete for it, and that's why we've had this similar debate with Newcastle. They've still not got the spine there as a 2-3 year world class kind of transfer strategy. It's a very new thing. Leicester City rely on Kelechi Iheanacho still up front to get them goals. He missed a goal from 7 yards out yesterday. It was embarrassing.
You said he was better than Rashford.
I never said that.
Yeah, you
So,
did.
well, the club didn't exist, so you're never going to find a clip of me saying that back in the day.
we might find it on another show.
Potentially, another show. But if you get a club fifth, like Leicester, fifth FA Cup, I'm sorry, that's
you're
great,
a great
man.
manager. You're a great
You're a
manager.
great manager.
Who's getting sacked first? Moyes.
Moyes, because there's no one else left.
Can I
I
go
think the
left
fans
field
turn
on
on him
this?
and he gets sacked.
Can I go left field on this? There will be no more sackings. It's too late.
Could be right. It's March.
Too late.
But we're trying to do a clip, so you're
No, but I'm allowed to. I'm allowed
no,
to
you're
say
because the clip.
So
the
I
clip's
have to
more
say
important.
someone.
Yeah.
I have to. Okay,
Say
boys.
someone-
Moyes.
I'm going to give you two left field shouts. I know
Are you going to say Pat Vieira?
one, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking Vieira then.
One of
William.
them,
they're midfield.
Vieira, Crystal Palace and Freefall, not got a result in ages. You've also got, and I know you ruled this out straight away, but Gary O'Neill and Bournemouth bottom, they need some sort of injection of form. Maybe they get rid of him.
I don't think
he's
anyone
done a
can
miracle
save
there.
Bournemouth. I really don't think anyone can save. I mean, I don't think Jose Mourinho 05 saves him. I really don't.
I think he does, actually. But I'm a big Mourinho fan.
No, I'm a big Mourinho. I don't think Guardiola of today. I don't think there is a man. Whoever you see
They're not good
as
enough.
the greatest manager, put him in his greatest period.
But
He
Gary
doesn't do
O'Neill never gets sacked because they gave it to him in the first place. They gave it to him because they know they're going to get relegated. If they nick a couple of wins, a couple of draws, they come 16th or whatever it is. But they're ready for the championship. They got
Yeah,
new
and they won't
ownership.
lose- and they won't lose
didn't
many
spend any
players.
money. They
They
came
won't-
up. They spent no money.
They'll be the best. They'll be the most well-equipped team to come back up.
Yeah, of course. Someone
New
like Kiefer
ownership
Moore.
as well.
Kiefer Moore scored 55
Michael
goals
B.
next
Jordan,
season.
your guy.
Who's that?
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan. Yeah,
Your
so
guy.
it's a new lease of life for them. But no, Gary O'Neill, and I think Gary O'Neill. By the way, I know we're kind of it's a weird thing to say. I think he's done a fantastic job with Bournemouth.
You know, Gary
It's his
O'Neill.
first job in management.
Do you know Mason Mount's dream player when he was a kid? Gary O'Neill.
Underrated player, by the way.
Most amount of Portsmouth fan.
Yeah, he's from Portsmouth.
Great.
Interesting.
Yeah, Portsmouth, West Ham,
Anyway.
Blackburn. Good career, Gary O'Neill.
Moving on.
Good career.